So yeah, we are going to talk today about driving sustainable mobile growth at Playtika, and the case study for today is World Series of Poker. Now, what do I mean by sustainable growth? You know, you see a lot of those flash-in-the-pan hits that do the top 10 charts and then recede into oblivion. But we are here to talk about, growth that is sticky. A lot of hard work goes behind it. And it stays. It's steady. It stays. It's over a few years. It's not. It just doesn't happen in 6 weeks or a couple months. So I'll start a little bit by introducing myself, WSOP, Playtika. Then I'll dive into World Series of Poker's sustainable growth. And I'm here to discuss and narrow down a few of the essential components of sustainable growth, more from the marketing side, and more of what I think, in my humble opinion, many companies can achieve through making a good product, doing the hard work behind marketing, and then sustaining it with all the strategies. And yes, as I said, my talk is not here to criticize who's not there, but to celebrate steady and sticky growth. So I'll leave up you with some thoughts about how to focus on organic growth, and then leave you with some key takeaways. So it's only appropriate to introduce myself in an App Store image concept, because we do this day in, day out. So that's myself. I'm the marketing director of World Series of Poker. I surveyed my family members repeatedly to get to that 805, 4.5 rating, but doesn't matter. I'm a marketing geek on the tech side. Through in and out, I got my degrees at McGill, engineering and MBA, and then I went on to Oracle, Autodesk, Electronic Arts, and then last 4 years have been in Playtika, driving growth at World Series of Poker. When we were a small team that got acquired from EA by Caesars Interactive, Playtika, and then we have multiple times X'd both user-based growth and revenue. And we'll dig a little bit more into that. I used to do a lot of, running 5K, 10Ks, and reading and watching movies, and then this happened. So these days, I still do a lot of running, but only when I'm chasing after them. I still do some reading, but a lot of it is Winnie the Pooh and stuff. And I do watch movies. Oh, wait, I just watched one movie over 52 times, and no prizes for guessing Frozen. I can sing Let It Go in multiple languages, but it's all good, all good. Don't be in a rush, but it's all good. So Playtika, it was founded in 2010, and we have about 7 games. Slotomania is one of the leading poker brands, period, and it was established in 2010, and then 6 or 7 games either acquired or developed. We have Caesar Slots, World Series of Poker, Bingo Blitz, House of Fun. Five of these games are consistently in the top 100 overall apps, not just grossing, but not just games, but overall grossing apps. I manage the marketing for World Series of Poker. Playtika's evolution has been pretty fairy tale-ish. I know a thing or two about fairy tales now. 2010, it started in a garage. No one wanted to invest in a company that makes play for fun casino, especially in Israel. But a couple of them that did are now laughing their way to the bank. And from there to being acquired in 2016 by Giant Interactive for $4.5 billion. We were part of the journey in 2013. We came in, and 2012, Buffalo Studios was acquired. Salim from there is here. So yeah, we have some good people in the crowd, and we have a good story to tell. So social casino in context, it's not something, the mechanics were not invented by us. It was there for years, at least 100 plus. But we put it in a free-to-play model. We constantly innovated and iterated on the product to make people come. We took some, but most importantly, we took some smart data-driven decisions, and keep doing that every day. So World Series of Poker sustainable growth. When I started creating this PowerPoint on June 21st, we were number 26 overall grossing apps. So there are about 1.6 million apps on iOS in the US. Now, we we were not #1 downloaded poker when we started, but these days we are. We are #1 grossing poker in the US and many countries. And we are pretty much #1 poker search consistently when you search term on the App Store, poker, which is a pretty high traffic word. We are consistently #1. So just to kind of position things of what we have done, and why am I here talking about all of this? It doesn't even make sense if these didn't happen. So if you check the graph there, this is a graph over the last 3 years. I know it's very small, but I just wanted to kind of give you the impact and the slow and steadiness and constant hard work that went into it instead of the quick jump and fall. And one is more on the download side, one is on the revenue side. So both aspects of user growth and revenue were constantly being driven. So what are some of the essential marketing components of sustainable growth? Again, this is a very marketing UA perspective, but obviously, needless to say, product and live ops are all go hand in hand with this. So I like to start with the team, but not all of these blocks are sequential. But building a snack team, I needed a nice acronym for sure. But smart negotiators. When UA people, as UA people, this is something you got to do. I mean, a guy of Indian origin working for a company that started in Israel. So you can imagine, we don't throw money at everything. We are strong negotiators. We are very analytical. So the team that I put together is analytical. A couple of them have backgrounds in the financial sector. So it's super important for the guys to be analytical. Creative, obviously, needless to say, there are visual aspects, there are messaging aspects, and they have to be knowledgeable about this very dynamic industry. So the snack team, if you guys can put it together for your UN marketing, it's absolutely a no-brainer and necessity. The second thing that I have put, I mean, obviously all of these things happen in parallel, defining the value, the success metrics, and to drive your media buying strategy. Some people focus very, very heavily on just the ROAS, but is DAO growth also needs to be a part of your strategy? Some might argue, some might say yes. Then what about future cash flow? So you got to define the elements of your strategy and then draw out the marketing media buying strategy accordingly. Then comes, stitching together the optimal tech stack. The MMPs, FMPs, and a million other things fall into this place. But again, depending on the scale and the size of the company, you are going to be doing a lot. If you're partnering with the right tech guys, then you are going to achieve a lot more things quicker. And then you can bring all the data and do all kinds of fancy stuff. And that's where I come with the, building the right data analytics infrastructure. Super important. If you want to get into the, the modeling and the predictive aspects and scoring users aspect, you need to bring in the data and analyze it and then spend money in the right places according to the data analysis. Ensure, you have good friends. If you don't have an analyst and a creative guy in your team, make sure you buy gifts and send chocolates to the BI guy and the creative dude or girl, and make sure the dev teams are not always throwing eggs, because the hardest is when you come up with a new a tech or something that needs to be integrated. The dev team is never happy, so you want to make sure that it's a good solution, and people fail. We all fail, but these are some of the essential components. And the last two are more executional. You got to, I think the last piece is the most important piece. You got to constantly test and optimize to meet the KPI goals. And here I put a little emphasis on the organic growth, because in my opinion, it's a very, very, very important part of the puzzle. And there are things that we control and drive to make it happen. And we will get into a little bit more. Now, it's very hard to go through all of these essential components, so I will focus on a few, defining the strategy and then stitching together the stack, and then the testing and execution and organic growth parts of it. So, the first important most thing is, defining the US strategy to drive and then get into the marketing tech stack that you need, the MMPs, FMPs, and internal models to go through it. So at a very high level, the gray bars are some of the things that a mix of these gray bars is what you need as the strategy drivers. The return on ad spend, obviously no brainer, but how much of part of the campaign should they be just driven towards DAO growth? And then future cash flow. Now, if you want your company to be very attractive to investors and get a steady growth and sustainable growth, you have to think about future. So, indicators such as first-time payers, to the cash flow you see, the time to first-time deposit, all those things are important to measure. And the levers that we as marketers have are geography, so where do you spend, the platform, iOS versus Android versus Amazon, and obviously the new versus existing. How much should we pay to or spend on the new to acquire new users? How much do we spend to acquire or retarget and get the users back? But I think a lot of it starts with, accurate measurement. If you are spending money, unlike the days of Mad Men and brand marketing or putting a big banner on the highway and just counting eyeballs and making some very, very wishy-washy calculation, these days we can measure everything. And mobile marketing partners probably all of you guys work, but if you're not working, you got to work, and that is one, but you need to do your analysis on a cohort basis. And get your LTV patterns, get your daily install velocities. We measure RP, retention, all those things that are very, very critical to meet those strategies that you have defined in the first step. So, I've presented some screenshots from the partner that we use, Upslar, but there are so many of them, and we have found good reason to work with them, and the support is good, their product is good. This is not a paid sponsored part of the program, but I thought I'd just share because I know someone would ask it. So yeah, that's very critical. Another thing, which we hear a lot is fraud, because fraud is happening, this, that, but we as marketers have the power to choose who to work with, based on the raw data analysis and a lot of different things. Look at the IP addresses, look at the clicks, look at something which is called MTTI, the mean time to installs. So there are some patterns which a lot of these MMPs have worked or other external parties are working on, and you can figure out who's doing fraud. And just don't blame the fraud mafia and this, that, but you have the power to control who to work with. Another thing I wanted to mention, scaling on something like Facebook. Yeah, we do a few Facebook ads. Is not possible if you don't have the right partner. And we are very glad to work with Bidalgo. We've tested a few. And it's things like that creative dashboard that you see in the image, makes you learn which creatives are working, the CDRs, and you make instant decisions. And it's way more strong than just the Power Editor. So they provide a bidding algo, they get a creative breakdown, the data is easy to aggregate, and tons of things. And always make sure if you're working with an FMP, they're up to speed with what Facebook is driving. Performance methodology is pretty simple. Launch those natural tests, optimize the ad sets based on your goals. Mostly it's ROAS or retention goals. And then analyze the best creative performance, combine the elements that work, and do more of it. So this is a very important part. This has to be done pretty much for every campaign that you're working with. You can't just, put a campaign and forget it. You have to constantly monitor it, you define the intervals that work for you, and always, the more you optimize in this sense, the better your return for your money that you get, either in terms of the future cash flow or in terms of the retentive or sticky players that you want in the game. So here's a quick creative quiz. Which image do you think had a better CTR? Right or left? The left went by 33%. And these are some of the things, back in the Mad Men days, the VP of marketing and everyone had to like an ad. But now we have the data to prove this is working. And sometimes it's not about what you think works, but actually what data shows. So here's a video, quick video. And this is a quiz as well on the video, so watch carefully. And here's the next one. Is it on loop? So which one do you think had a better CDR? Yeah, again, you know, sometimes things that we think, I know, they're no trick questions, but in this case at least, probably the opening of the case and the chips flying out had a better. So lastly, I want to focus on organic growth. I had promised, you know, we think it's an essential element. And just to share, you know, when we took the data in April 14 until about April 2016, like 2 years, you know, we were always on the 9s, 11s, 16s, and then we pushed to the 5, 6s in a year, and then pushed to the 1s and 2, 3s of the on poker search rank, which is in our world the highest search traffic rank. And again, I'm not saying ASO is the be-all, end-all, but it's a very important part of the cog. The important cog of the wheel, because you know everything, you know, the download velocity and everything matters, but if you are not doing the right ASO, and when one word comes to my mind as relevance being the key for ASO, when people, first you have to discover the right people have to discover your app, and when they are in the App Store, the relevant users have to convert. So I see it as two parts, you know, the organic people that search poker and get to your store, and then there are the paid networks and internal campaigns that you control and you bring them directly to the store. So the first part is more discovery, and the second part is conversion. And there are elements in both of these parts that you control. And don't let the other naysayers say that, oh yeah, you don't control much. I mean, we are all trying to, you know, learn how Apple and Google are using their algorithm to drive this, and it constantly changes. But I think the key word I said very, very strongly, but make sure that your App Store page is relevant and you put the right keywords and title that is relevant for the relevant users. Now, some of the drivers, again, these things change. So, I mean, if you take note of this, probably it'll be something else. And I know iOS 11 is changing a lot of these things. But, you know, app title, super important. The red ones are the drivers that you control, and then there's some visible, and then there's some hidden drivers, like keywords. There's that 100-character in iOS allows you to, you know, put the characters and you of relevance again. Don't repeat if you have it in title. Icon is super important if you're a brand. We are a known brand, so we put the chip right up there. And screenshots, description, all of it. So, you know, and then there are also engagement and revenue things that are part of the algorithm, and Apple and Google is more sophisticated in some ways because they have the SEO history behind them, but you know, and these are also set to impact your paid search campaigns, like the search campaigns that you put on the stores, the ads that both Apple and Google now allow you to put on the stores. So very, very important to first have the right people discover you, and when the right people are there, have the right elements in the screenshots, visuals, and messaging so them to convert. So this is what I want to leave you with. Sustainable growth is not flashy. PR people and journalists are not all over it like those other things that reach top 10 and then people don't know where they are today. But it happens when you build the right product, keep bringing the right relevant users, and continuously give them reason to be excited about. And a lot of it is controlled by us marketing UA people who are the gatekeepers of who's getting in and who's you know, sticking around. So obviously building the snack team, defining the value and values and objectives very, very clearly so that the media strategy is driven by that, and then putting the paid strategy and ASO so that you measure the organic growth, because organic growth is, after all, very, very important to a sustainable growth strategy. And then, you know, last but the least, not the least, is testing, testing, testing. I mean, people get very discouraged when there are inconclusive results, and the people don't test enough. But even if there are 2 conclusive results out of 10 fail, which moves the needle incrementally, that's great. So, you know, I think Churchill said it best. Success is moving from one failure to the other without showing any signs of exhaustion. Thank you.
Hi, Jeet. Thanks for the talk. You talked about how organic growth can influence paid marketing. How about how paid marketing can influence organic growth?
Actually, sorry if I didn't communicate. It was more the paid influencing the organic. So, and what I meant by, you know, when you add a source, that was exactly what I was trying. The paid, add in those paid sources that have an impact on the organic. And, you know, it's not a perfect science to measure because there are so many things going on at a time when you're measuring the organics. But more or less, by geography, when you add a paid source, always keep an eye on the organic growth. And that's exactly, I think, what I was saying. You know, paid strategy, in the third point, paid strategy and ASO should lead to measurable organic growth as much as possible. So, a good point. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. It was a very interesting talk.
Thank you.
So I couldn't quite see the screenshot. Who is your marketing partner?
For which? For the mobile measurement?
Yes, for the mobile measurements.
AppsFlyer. I knew you would ask it, and I even throw it in there.
Yes, I couldn't quite hear it.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, AppsFlyer, and for the Facebook marketing partner, it's Bidalgo currently.
Okay, and as far as your online ad channels are concerned, which ones are the most successful for your company?
By my big smile, I'm sure you understand that this is not exactly something I would like to share. How do I politically correctly, you know? Listen, I mean, all the big guys. I mean, it's no secret in the room that Facebook and Google are the two 800-pound gorillas. You know, that have Facebook has really mastered the targeting business, and Google has also been very effective. They have a lot of inventory and a lot of different ways to reach out, so obviously no-brainer. And you always want to work with technologies where you can scale with Facebook or even scale with Google, although Google AdWords is very good. But and sometimes you have to work with some external agencies to, you know, figure out these things. But apart from that, you know, all the big names that you know and that are lined up in the lobby there, from the ad colonies, Apple Avins of the world, the Vungles, Unities, these are all very powerful channels for that, showing your ad in app. And then search and whatnot. I mean, Google dominates. Apple is a very huge source and partner, and it's working out well. So yeah, you know, it's the usual suspects. But what you do with the data is very important, and how hard you monitor and optimize is where a team can differentiate themselves working with these guys. And as I said, if you have the right team, the snack team or whatever, however you define it, and you got to define your value and KPIs and then make all of it meet. Although it sounds, I mean, easy when you put those building blocks, but each building block can take a lot of time to create, and you would learn through trial and error and experimentation. That's why always be testing. Thank you very much.
All right, thanks, Jeet.